A lot more wrong with this one though. Look at that. No, that can't be the problem. Oh, don't let that be the problem. Well folks, welcome back to the workshop. Today we're starting off with a box of tools sent on for repair. Not much of a mixture on it, but a few different things. Bosch and Makita tools, corded and cordless grinders, Makita impactor, and a Makita cordless drill. And a tip. Don't know if that was meant to be on there or not. Right, we'll see what we can do this lot. This is sent on from a local steel manufacturer, so we'll see what we can get fixed up for them. We'll start with the grinders probably. Right. As hard a life as these tools get with a manufacturer like this, they do actually take good care of their tools. They are fairly banged up, but they do last with them. Right, it's working. So what's the problem? It's obviously been used for grinding. I've changed the brushes recently, they're new. And they're moving freely. So what's it sent on for? Potentially a lead. I'll just try that again. Yeah, lead's broken somewhere around here. If you're doing this yourself, you could just cut this maybe half a foot back and cut it, and rejoint it. There's a good bit of length on it, but for this crowd, they won't want to come back to it again. They'll just want it fixed. So we'll just put a new lead on it and be done with it. You cannot guarantee that there isn't another break about to happen somewhere else on the lead. It'll be crushed somewhere till you know. It'll save them a wee bit of money. It'll get it back a little bit quicker. But if it then stops working very soon, they're going to be more annoyed than pleased. So it's best to just replace them. We can keep the same plug. Nothing wrong with that. Now, nice simple one to start with. That's number one finished. Go on to number two. Right, we get through the standard ones first maybe. Get the Bosches out of the way. Little black cable, looks black there. It's actually just normal white cable. Same thing, new cable needed. Just check the brushes as well. They don't look that badly worn, but there's not an awful lot of meat on them before the spring pops, so we might change them too, just to save it coming on another trip in a few months. The plug in this one I won't keep, it's already broken. It's just a hard plastic plug. They're not very durable for industry use, so replace that with a rubberized one. Grommet as well for this one. They changed the lead originally, which would have a skinny one, and the grommet would have been too thin for that white cable. Put the right size grommet on now to take a heavier cable. That'll help the lead last a bit longer. Stops it bending just right here, so it allows the bend to go further down, so it stops it from breaking in one location, allows the cable to last longer here. So you want the grommets on to keep the cable good. And then these brushes. As you can see, there's not much meat on them. So they're actually over halfway worn. The spring's going to pop out down around here. So I'll leave them in. It's going to be in again in no time. See how much gunk builds up in them holders too. So always good to give them a clean before putting new brushes on. Stops them gumming up as easily. And the same on this side. See, that actually is quite stiff. There's a bit of swarf on there too. We'll clean this out with a compressor as well. That should be her. Another Bosch 4.5-inch grinder. This one is a GWS 7/115. The last one is actually an older GWS 660. That's her. New lead and plug was all she needed, but also put a set of brushes onto it as well, just to keep it running for longer. That's number 2 done. Straight on to number 3. This one's the exact same as the last one. GWS 7/115. This one has a lot more wrong with it. Strupped gears for a start. Yeah, definitely strupped out anyway. More so strupped this gear instead of this crown gear. But still, that'll have to be replaced now too, along with this one. And the question is, does the rest of it work? Or why did I strip it out? Right. Motor's good. Lead's still good. Needs a new grommet, mind you. Brushes again are just over halfway worn, so we might change them again. You want to just see how much it's done. Make sure it's worth doing this work. That bearing's not great. We'll just check this one. Doesn't sound healthy anyway. Yeah, that's gone. Completely gone actually. If it gets any worse, it's going to disintegrate. Right, wash that out. We'll have to take that gear off. Here's the main problem. Gear's totally stripped out. We can salvage the rest, give it a wee clean. 2 new bearings. And that should get us sorted. Question is, do I have the gears? $823. That's the big one. I need 2.5. Plus a grommet, 2 brushes, 2 bearings, 607 and a 608. And we'll wash these out. Right, cleaning's done. Now we have to get this gear off. We can get rid of the gear. All we want is the flange. This here plastic cover with the bearing on it and the spindle. Now washing it out doesn't let you get in behind the gear, so I'll just wash this out again to get this last bit of gunk out of here. And when you're buying a professional tool, that's what you want to be seeing. NSK bearings. Now this is a 6201, but if that's gone you can't change that bearing, and this here flange, you have to replace the whole flange. Now the gear for the 7115s at least, this here number, and then an 823. Press this onto here now, and we'll get this rebuilt. And she's a tight fit. That's her, ready to go. All we need to do now is rebuild it. But the question is, why did it destroy these gears? How did it do that? Normally, it'll break this gear. But obviously that one's not broken, it's just badly worn. Normally it can be a faulty part, maybe a week or something, and one of the teeth break off. Or it could be misused by the user, being too violent with the machine and slapping onto material, and the shock can snap off some of the teeth. The teeth break off, they rattle around inside, chew up all the other teeth or else break the rest of them off. You'll see a lot of damage, and you'll notice the teeth because they'll all start falling out whenever you're washing this head out. This, all the bits of debris, are just black powder. And they were all stuck hard to the side of here with the grease. There was no little pieces falling out of it. The reason this one actually failed, you can see in the armature. See how badly worn it is? That's because it's done a lot of work. These actually wore out from just use. I've already changed this bearing, but the old one was the same fag bearing, so this one's actually been repaired before the bearings changed. So this has done quite a bit of work and has actually worn out this gear. Worn out so much that they just started slipping and chewing them up. So over time, that gear's actually failed. The bit that's actually worn would have went into the grease. If it went into the grease, it would have went other places. Like this bronze bush, which does right enough look a little bit too big. So I take a spindle off the same machine, a brand new one. Can't get this one to reach and actually see what it's doing. It's actually worn out. So there's not much point in me using these new gears with this old head, because this is just going to happen again. That central bush there for centering this gear is gone. But luckily, Bosch ain't too bad for parts. You can buy this entire head. That's the number there if you ever want it. It even comes with the screws and that little lock button built into it. That there only cost 16 or 17 euro for that entire aluminium head. Well worth changing it, but the gears are also gone, so that one costs an extra 8 or 9 euro. The small one costs another 6, plus with 2 bearings at 6 euro each, and a set of brushes at 9 euro. The cost is just slowly rising higher and higher. Probably still worth doing even with the new parts. This repair, if I used all new, would cost maybe about 60-65 euro. The grinder you can buy online for about 100 euro. Some places even 120 euro they're charging for them. So it still would be worth doing with the new parts. But to keep the cost down, I'm just going to use a second-hand part. Exact same head of the same type of machine. Simply the bronze bush inside. Still good in this one. There's nothing wrong with the head. This one, the actual motor was burnt out of it. So keep the cost down. I'll get rid of that. And instead of using a new head, we'll use a second-hand one, just to make this more affordable. Now, not everybody's going to have access to second-hand parts. But if you had one of these with the same problems, you can still use new ones. It would still be worth doing. especially if you're doing this yourself. Just I'd have to put another tenner onto this again for labour. Now don't put a massive amount of grease on, just for enough to cover the base down there, and that'll do. That's her, ready to rebuild the rest. Now I have already changed this bearing. Now it's just the top one. The actual gear up here, you don't have to build it onto the head. It can be built separate. This wee rubber ring just centers the bearing on this plastic cover. You've got a washer on the top, and then your gear. That's the number if you're ever looking for it. Sleeve for the base. Put a wee bit of grease on that, just to help it slide on. And that's it, good to go. Also just going to fit this new grommet. Just to keep things nice and tidy. I'm also just going to take a little bit off this cable just in case it is weak back here where it was flexing. That's her. Ready to go. Push that on. Our head can just push on then. And finally, your brushes. That should be it. That's her. Another Bosch GWS 7/115 with new gears, second-hand head, new bearings and brushes. And then finally, last Bosch. This one's obviously had a bit of work. Old casing's burnt on it. Must have got too close to a blowtorch. Again, white cable on it. This one's not working at all. Looks like a simple one. Might just be a set of brushes here. Yep. Brush is popped. That just shows you how much is left. Well, the ones replaced in the other two. One more little bit and they pop out. Replace them. And get this up and running again. Same as the last time. Just give us a quick wee file as well, just in case there's any debris or dirt filing up the holders. Now before you do any more work with it, always get them up and running first, just to see what they sound like. As you can tell from the armature in this, looking in, there's quite a bit of work done on this. The armature of this is actually worn. It's done quite a bit of work. Could have more problems, so get her up and running first and check, see what else could be wrong. Now, let's see if she runs. Nah, she's sparking, she's making heat, and I can smell it. That there ain't going to be worth fixing. Could put a new armature onto it with the new brushes. They're actually very hot. But the rest of the machine's also worn as well. Might be more beneficial to just buy a new one. Replacing the armature and the brushes. And potentially the bearing up here. You could put an armature onto it. Armature costs about €30. And you've got a set of brushes about €9. And then a lead, another €8. The price will start mounting up. Plus a bit of labour and VAT, you're onto at least 60. Yeah, look how much work that's done. It's worn all the way down. So that was flat. This side and this side were level at a stage when this was new. So it's worn all the way down to there. That's done a terrible amount of work. That bearing's okay. That bearing's not great. But also, you can see those gears. See how they're worn. Actually a sharp point on one side and they're sort of sloped this way. They're actually badly worn as well. So I had to change the gears as well in it. That's another what, €15. It's just getting to be too much money, too risky, especially for a machine like this that's done this amount of work. I'm going to have to say no for this one. If it was just the armature, it would have been alright. With them gears too, it's going to just get too risky. So I'm going to leave that one. Right, leave that. That's the first one not fixed, number 4. Now, next up, number 5, there's another grinder. This time it's a Makita and it's a cordless one. This is the DTD156 from 2017. She works, but she doesn't sound good, and she doesn't feel good there. Right, she's rubbing inside. Now, we've seen this before, more than likely. I would say it's going to be the stator, or the rotor, rubbing on the stator. Or a bad bearing. We'll open it up and see which. So that's fine. And here is the problem. That bearing has gone. As you can see, she's rubbing here too, look. This bearing's actually gone too. You can hear that sort of clicking noise inside. So that's actually gone as well. Both of them are gone. As you can see down here, it's actually rubbing on the segment of the stator as well. So we still have more problems. So we have to stop it from rubbing and change the bearings. We've seen this plenty of times before, so we'll pack out the stator to stop the rub. Got dirt building up on that as well. Give it a wee quick clean. It doesn't look too bad inside. Nothing else burnt or damaged. It's just the stator. So here's where she's rubbing. As you can see, she's just sitting on the body, packed up on here. It's not overly tight. There's no real reason for these to start shifting, but eventually they start vibrating and moving, wearing away the plastic, and the stator becomes loose. And because there's such a tight tolerance between the rotor and the stator, once it moves, the magnet starts pulling the stator over and causing it to rub. So what we want to do is recenter this here in the housing to stop it from rubbing. So she's rubbing here, so in other words it's moved over here too far. To fix it, we want to push it back this way clear this here rub. To do that, we're just going to put a wee shim or a packer onto here to pack it out. And the easiest thing to use is actually just paper. But first we just blow this out first, give it a wee clean. Now normally I would just fold over a few pieces of paper. This time I'm going to use a piece of card. Just be labels we use here in the workshop. Should be thick enough for this. Paper can sometimes be better because you have more control. If it's not thick enough, you can just fold it over again and again to pack it out that little bit more to get it right. Some people turn around and say, sure, it's a fire hazard having paper in it. The whole body's made of plastic. It's not going to catch fire because of paper. These things, because they're brushless, shouldn't be producing any heat anyway. There should be no heat to actually catch anything on fire. If it was hot enough to do that, it's going to catch the plastic body on fire anyway. Paper will do just fine. It's going to wear, but no faster than the plastic body anyway. Now all you need is a piece from here to here. So what you're talking, about 24mm. Just that amount there. That should be more than enough to pack this out. So we're just going to have it angled up here between the two halves. So it pushes this side down. Roughly around there. Make sure it's all the way in. Drop it in, making sure it's right down against the plastic body down here. Basically has to cover all the metal part of the stator, not the plastic. The plastic bit's where it's locating into the body. Put it in, give it a wee tug. It should hold. If it's sliding about or coming out again, you need to increase the thickness. Either fold the paper again or put another piece on. So that should be okay. Now whenever you're putting on this half, make sure you fold it over this way to catch that paper. Not a good setup. It's not good that it actually wears out the stator like that. As you can see, that wee bit of paper makes all the difference. The stator is solid in there again. Now that should sort that out. Now, to sort out the bearings. Now, to press that one out, we'll have to press this out. So the bottom one's a 607. The top one should be a 608, I would imagine. Actually, she's a 629 NSK bearing. Push that out. We'll give us a wee clean down as well. Press that on, and we'll press this on. Much better. Center this to the housing. It's already sounding smoother. There should be no more rub. Bearings are fixed. There should be no more problem. It should sound nice and smooth again. Now, what does she sound like? Much better. 2 new bearings, a wee piece of paper, just sounds like new again. That's 4 or 5 fixed. Now on to number 6 is another Makita grinder. Cordless. This is the old version. This is the DTD156. This is actually younger. This is a 2020 machine. These are good enough for small jobs, but not for big jobs. Too much of a risk of overheating and burning. That's not smoke, that's dust. So somebody's using this for cutting up no drywall or concrete. You need the brushless one. A lot of dust come out of there. You need the brushless one for that sort of work. These here, good for a couple of minutes. If you run them for 5 or 10 minutes straight, they generate too much heat. These things here, power hungry. With a 4 amp or 5 amp battery, they can empty that so bloody quick. They can suck 30 amps out of it when you're using it. If you're dogging it, it'll take all 30 amps through these leads and brushes. It's far too much. They'll overheat. The brushes will overheat. The holders will overheat, which are brass. The brass will then melt into the plastic, melt the brushes together, stick everything together. And it doesn't work. To fix it again, you're going to have to change the brushes and the holders and probably the caps up here. But if it's done too much damage, or if you do that too many times, you'll also start overheating the armature, because the resistance will then be higher in it. It'll do it more easily the next time. So you can only do this repair so many times on the one machine. This one doesn't look like it was done before. Not going to be able to get a serial number of it. I have no markings on it, so I don't think I've had it. This might be the first time, in which case they might get away with it. As you can see, this is all just cement. Someone's using this in a diamond disc, cutting concrete with it. It's just not great for that kind of work. Does it? Short bursts, like I say, but not for constant use. That looks okay. Bearings are alright. If you look in here, see the brushes. One of them's not moving, the other one's only halfway down. So the brushes are the problem, which means the holders are melted. Now they melted. Caps might have melted. That one's okay. No, that one's okay too. Get away with the caps then. Somebody done this already, look. That brush is burnt up. and that one's jammed. So inside we go. Look at that. Wasn't cutting metal anyway. Well, it's cutting some metal. Clean the stitter, get a screwdriver, scrape the top. This just helps blow off all the stuff. That'll generally be rusted and stuck on hard, so scrape that off first. Scrape down the two edges of both magnets, just to free up all that stuff. And scrape the other side. That should all come off now with the compressor. Same as most of this stuff. Get rid of your end bell. That's going to be melted. Keep the wee rubber ring for centering your bearing. Blow that out. Blow that out. I'll clean this down and blow this out as well. Head we want to clean as well. We don't want the stuff getting inside. There's the two parts needed for this one. End bell and brushes. Don't even need any of the caps. Just make sure your connectors actually get done to the spade. It's not hard to miss. Click that on, fold down your wires, that's it. Stator goes up the top. Doesn't matter about the rest of the dirt and grit and dust. I'm sure the customer won't be keeping it clean for very long. Just make sure your switch lever works. That's okay. go ahead and close it up. Now, don't forget this wee rubber for the bottom of the bearing. Make sure that's folded over. This wee notch goes to the bottom, though it doesn't really matter. Slide her on, center it, push it together. Just top up the grease a little bit. It's cordless, so it really doesn't take very much. Put the head back on. Extremely easy, simple to do, and not many tools needed for it. Lastly, the brushes. And the caps. Normally these melt in. If you can't get them off of the old end bell, you just need to replace them. And these wee covers then are to protect your hand, simply for when you do overheat it. And these overheat and burn. Melted plastic doesn't get on your hand. These actually do melt through sometimes. If they do melt through, this just stops it from burning your hand. That should be it. Ready to go for a little while longer. These brush machines are good enough, but there's not a massive amount of power to them. When you take a cordless drill, a brushed cordless drill and a brushless one, between the two motors there's not much of a difference. A wee bit more power out of the brushless one, a little bit better for performance, for battery life. But when it comes to a grinder, the difference between these older brushless ones and a brushless motor, the brushless has way more power. The difference is very big. There's a massive difference when it comes to power on the cordless grinders. You really want a brushless one. These ones are good enough for a little bit of work here and there, cutting the odd bolt, that sort of stuff, but they're not going to do a mad amount of work. I see people buy these here and try to grind off tile adhesive off a wall. Far too much for this. Far too much for any cordless machine, to be honest. But still, it's not what this thing's designed for. These are just for throwing in the back of a tractor, on a boat, in the toolbox, for doing the odd wee job. That's about the height of it. If you want to do more than that, get a brushless one. More power, more last. Anyway, that's that one fixed. Now, number 7, we have a cordless Makita drill and the DTD156. See these quite often, same problem, heavy duty drill, but it's a brushed motor. So if you push it hard, you tend to burn up the motor. These are actually very good drills. I actually have 3 of these myself, always liked them, but keep pushing them, you're going to generate heat and cause problems. This one looks like it might be a chuck. That's a gearbox. No, that can't be the problem. Oh, don't let that be the problem. Anybody see it yet? Seriously. Not on gear. You'd be surprised how often I get them on like this. Right, chuck's rusted, but there's nothing actually wrong with it, it's functioning. She's in drill mode and she's working. Hammer mode works. Clutch works. So somebody's had that, been using it, either didn't put it into gear correctly or got it knocked out of gear, but they've left it sitting like this in between first and second. So it looks okay when you run it with no load. When you hold the chuck, it's not engaging in anything because it's not in gear. Now this one's out of an engineering company. You would think they would know better, but it doesn't matter where it comes from. Everybody gets 1 or 2 bad days every once in a while. Having a bad day, something goes wrong, you just don't want to deal with it. Times this can be just thrown to one side. Something wrong with it, you don't want to touch it. Something as simple as this here. Normally it's somebody coming to the shop that just isn't familiar with drills or something. They don't realise this. That's understandable, but sometimes you just get somebody in who's had a problem and they just come straight in with it. You literally just go, here you go, take it with you, she's all sorted out. Not a thing wrong with it. Both gears are running and they're not strapped out. Only problem was she's locked in between the 2 gears. I'm glad I have it on camera, because if the boy doesn't believe me when I send it back to him, I can tell him to look it up on YouTube. That's all it is. That's number 7 sorted. Now, the last repair in the box is always risky. Which one do you leave to last? Is it going to be a repairable one or a non-repairable one? These wee Makita impactors, they're fairly cheap and cheerful. I think you normally get them at a screw fix or something. They're never that great, to be honest. They're simply a brushed motor. Generally, when something goes wrong, a lot of it might not be worth fixing. This one works. I don't even know what this one is. Completely covered in cement. This is an engineering company. Why have I got everything covered in cement? She's a DTD156. This was on the bottom too anyway. And she's from 2020. What's it in for? That's what it's in for. A bit stuck in the holder. Simple as that. Right. Thus we should get away with just opening the tool holder and knocking this bit out. To open it, we ring spring up here, and a washer and a spring. And your sleeve, which is jammed. See the wee ball bearings on there. I've actually filed her up. This might be well jammed on here. Here we go. 2 wee balls either side. Don't lose them. Now, how easy will this come out? Now's the question. Actually not all the way in. I can see the bottom of it here. It's also not coming out. Right. See if we can wedge it out. Not the good screwdriver. Sharp bevel tip. Knock that down onto it. That's got it moving. Now we have to get something to actually prise it up. Something like that. An old screwdriver. I've made it into a point and just bent it for a wee job like this. bit more bendy. This is why I never throw out any wee skinny screwdriver. You can use them from all different sorts of stuff. Bend it a bit more. Still doesn't want to budge. Forgot about these. Weehaw sent me on these here. Wonder if these will get it. These like flat jawed vice grips, even water pump pliers mixed with vice grips. You can set a closing mouth, and they're levered, but they have a nice straight clamp, unlike vice grips where they're angled and they have teeth. These here should be way better. Look at that. Try to do that with a set of vice grips. I only got it by the very edge, and it still had enough grip. No wonder it wouldn't come out now. There's what was wrong. Put it in wrong. He was using the bit. It wasn't actually engaged properly. Instead of the wee balls being up here, locking on the bit, he only had it part way in. So it jammed in. Then this sheared off. Left it locked inside the tool holder. That would have been hard enough to get out without them there. Otherwise you would have to drill it. And drilling them there wee bits is not easy. Anyway, get her back together again. Simply reverse order. Steel balls on first. Put a bit of grease on the holder as well if you want. This one's actually got plenty of grease on it. This metal sleeve goes on. Chamfer faces down. And your spring, washer, and spring clip. Get one edge on, click it on. That should be her. Simple as that. It goes on, locks, and come out again. That's it. One Makita DTD156 with the butt removed from the tool holder. That's it. That's her, and that's the lot. That's everything in that box. Everything fixed, apart from one. My everybody keeps asking me about prices too, so I'll run through the prices of these. That one, it's only a tenner, very cheap fix. The brushless Makita grinder was €40. The older brushed one was 35. The dearest Bosch one was 53. Now the one that's not fixed normally would charge a £5 inspection fee, but because the rest of them are fixed, not even going to bother charging a £5 for that. The Makita Cordless drill, nothing wrong with it. Older Bosch grinder was 16, and then the Bosch grinder with the lead plug grommet and brushes was €30. So that's it, folks. That's that box done. Everything fixed apart from one, and one that had no fault found on it. Thanks for watching, and if you have tools, don't be going dumping them. Obviously if they stop, always get them checked out first. Sometimes they can be very simple wee fixes. Some mightn't need fixed at all. Thanks for watching, folks. Give us a wee like and a follow down below. Don't forget to leave us a wee comment if you have any questions. And if you want to support the channel, you can always become members now too. Thanks.